Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where you don't have money for food, but at least there's an Octagon, this is Ballot.
And Tom Brady has discovered cloning. What could go wrong? Let's hit this. I'm Patrick Gutfield. Zohran Mamdani just became New York City's first Muslim mayor and the highest-ranking Muslim elected official in American history. He's 34 years old, a self-described democratic socialist, and he won by doing something politicians are told never to do. He was completely himself. Mamdani visited more than 50 mosques during the campaign. He prayed while fasting for Ramadan. He talked openly about his faith and his immigrant background. And he coined the term halalflation while talking to food cart vendors about rising prices. If you can win New York by inventing economic jargon at a gyro stand, you deserve to run the place. His platform was all about affordability, labor rights, and taking on corporate power. Basically, he looked at New York City rents and said, "This is insane." And voters responded, "Finally, someone said it." Revolutionary stuff. The campaign got nasty. Opponents accused him of sympathizing with Hamas and being unpatriotic. The attacks crossed into outright Islamophobia. Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik called him a jihadist candidate for mayor. Real subtle, Elise. Very measured political discourse. But here's what Mamdani did. He didn't back down. He addressed the bigotry head-on, talked about his own experiences with discrimination, and kept campaigning. Turns out voters appreciated someone who dealt with the attacks instead of cowering from them. More than 2 decades after 9/11, an attack that fundamentally changed how Muslims are viewed in America, especially in New York, the city just elected a Muslim mayor. The same city that became ground zero is now led by someone who had to explain his beard wasn't manipulated to look more threatening in campaign photos. Yes, that actually happened. A super PAC supporting Andrew Cuomo put out a flyer that appeared to darken and lengthen Mamdani's beard. Very normal campaign tactics. Donald Trump called Mamdani a radical and a communist. Then Trump endorsed Cuomo and threatened to withhold federal funds from New York if Mamdani won. Mamdani won anyway, with more than 50% of the vote. He beat a former governor from a political dynasty. In his victory speech, he wished Cuomo well in private life and promised never to say his name again, which he immediately violated by saying it while promising not to. But the gesture was there. So New York just made history. The city that never sleeps just elected its youngest mayor in over a century, its first Muslim mayor, and its first South Asian mayor. And he did it by talking about halalflation and refusing to apologize for who he is. Tom Brady's new dog, Junie, is a clone of his old dog, Lua. The former quarterback actually cloned his pet. And sources say Bill Belichick has already called to ask if they can do the same thing with Tom. Brady announced this Tuesday, the same day that Colossal Biosciences, a biotech company he's an investor in, revealed it's acquiring Viagen Pets and Equine. Viagen is the company that previously cloned dogs for Barbra Streisand and Paris Hilton. Apparently, when you're rich and famous, grief looks different. Most people get a sympathy card. Celebrities get a genetically identical replacement. Lua was a pit bull mix that Brady shared with his ex-wife Gisele Bündchen and their children. She died in December 2023. Before she died, Brady had scientists collect a blood sample. Then they used it to create Junie, who is genetically identical to Lua. Brady called it non-invasive cloning technology through a simple blood draw. Simple! Just like getting your cholesterol checked, except at the end, you get a puppy that's identical to your dead dog. Super normal stuff. He released a statement saying the company gave my family a second chance with a clone of our beloved dog. A second chance. Tom Brady cannot accept that anything ends. 7 Super Bowl rings weren't enough. Playing until he was 45 wasn't enough. Now even his dog gets overtime. Bill Belichick, currently coaching at North Carolina and experiencing what experts call a complete disaster, reportedly wants to know if the technology works on quarterbacks. His team is 2-9. He's probably watching this news thinking, can we get 2027 Tom? Or even 2015 Tom? I'll take 2011 Tom at this point. Colossal Biosciences is the same company trying to bring back extinct animals. In April, they announced they'd created 3 dire wolf pups. In September, they said they're making progress on bringing back the dodo bird. These people look at extinction and say, challenge accepted. which explains why they had no problem helping Tom Brady, who famously doesn't understand the concept of finished. Here's what's wild. Junie is genetically identical to Lua, but she's not actually Lua. She's a different dog with the same DNA, different experiences, different personality. To put this in simple terms, imagine Tom Brady on the Jets. He might look the same, but the outcome would be vastly different. President Trump is hosting a UFC fight on the White House lawn for his 80th birthday. And yes, it will be televised. According to Variety, Trump and UFC CEO Dana White will be spearheading the telecast themselves on June 14th, 2026. The event is officially part of the 250th anniversary celebration of American independence. But the timing, Trump's milestone birthday, is purely coincidental. I'm sure. Here's how the evening will work. Dignitaries arrive for dinner, then everyone heads outside to watch people punch each other in an octagon set up on the White House lawn. Nothing says happy birthday, Mr. President, quite like a cage fighting next to the Rose Garden. The broadcast is part of a $7.7 billion deal between UFC and Paramount. Paramount is now owned by David Ellison, whose father, Larry Ellison, is a Trump ally and also happens to be worth multiple billions of dollars. David Ellison has been making changes since taking over in August. He says he wants less elitist coverage on Paramount's networks, including CBS News. So far, that's meant mass layoffs and high-profile departures. He also appointed Bari Weiss, founder of the Free Press and someone you might call MAGA curious, as editor-in-chief of CBS News. So to recap, a billionaire's son bought a media company, installed new leadership, and the first major event is broadcasting the president's birthday party UFC fight from the White House lawn. The founding fathers would be so confused. They'd also be confused that portions of today's show were made with the help of AI, since they didn't have AI back then, and they wouldn't know what that is.